Here's why my clients are starting to move away from properties like this and starting to look more for properties like this. So with commercial property, there's obviously different factors to consider. There's sometimes going to be higher vacancy periods, but generally speaking, once you've got a tenant in place, that tenant's going to be there for a while. Whereas with residential, often tenants decide that, they don't like the area or they don't like the space, and then they move on to something else. However, with commercial, it's a little bit more difficult to be chopping and changing your mind every now and again. So you end up getting a longer term tenant. You can also pass on some of the expenses, or generally most of the expenses, that the property is going to incur to the tenant themselves. These are often called outgoings. A two-bedroom property like this would probably rent in somewhere in the vicinity of $7 to $750. Let's say $750 to be conservative. That would generate about $39,000 a year in rent, but it isn't going to factor in any strata, any rates, any water, anything like that. Whereas for the same price, we can purchase a commercial property like this that would generate a rental return of about $1,100 to $1,200 per week. So including all your outgoings such as rates and land tax and any other sort of stuff. And that is going to be a better return for the same investment price. However, there are other things to consider when purchasing a commercial property, such as higher LVR limits and generally higher interest rates. But when you've got a higher return and you've got a longer and a more stable tenant, it is something to consider. If you'd like to see how commercial property could potentially help grow your property portfolio, hit the link in our bio and let's book in a time to chat.